let's forget the Beltway talk. To the American people, how do you explain what's happening in Congress right now?
Well, Reverend Sharpton, I discovered the motto of the Republican Party. They are giving the American people a lump of coal for Christmas. There is no excuse whatsoever that they can give for why they are not passing the bill that passed the Senate. It was McConnell, it's McConnell-Reed. The Republicans voted for it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's got the oil pipeline in it. It's got everything they want. But they just want to stop the government from working. They want everybody to get a lump of coal when they go there, whether they're unemployed or whether they're getting a paycheck and they're going to have a tax increase. They're going to get a lump of coal for this Christmas.
Now, that is frightening. I mean, that's not a prop, that's a reality. Jared, what is confusing to me is the Speaker Boehner originally thought this was all right. Good deal. Then the day he flipped back, it's a bad deal. Let me show you what he said then and what he said today.
If the Senate acts, I'm committed to bringing the House back, and we can do it within 24 hours, to deal with whatever the Senate does.
You initially supported moving forward with the 2-month plan. What changed in your mind?
That's not true. What I was outlining was the fact that having the Keystone Pipeline in here was a success. But I raised concerns about the 2-month process from the moment that I heard about it.
Now, Jared, you know, I guess he's playing don't believe your lying eyes and don't trust your ears. We heard him say what he said. There's even reports of on a conference call he said it was a good deal. What happened to change his mind?
Well, what happened is the Tea Partiers really define dysfunction. If Congressman McDermott's image here is a lump of coal, and that's a strong one, my analysis really hovers around this issue of dysfunction. I mean, the reason why the American people simply don't believe the performance of this institution right now is because even when they hammer out a compromise that both sides obviously and explicitly agree, you heard the clips you just played from Speaker Boehner. I mean, this was a done deal. You have a group of obstructionists who are standing between the American people and $1,000 on average boost to their paycheck in 2012 and hundreds of thousands of people suffering from unemployment who will lose their coverage. We know that there are 4 unemployed people per job out there. This is a demand side problem. The economy actually has a little bit of momentum now, Reverend. Not enough, not a lot, but a little bit. And
but Jared, let me ask you this, because I want to ask the congressman something about what's going on the Hill, but let me ask you this.
Sure.
As we talk about the unemployed, as we talk about those in poverty, is this bill helpful to the economy? Because we're not talking about charity here. Will this bill actually help the economy, and if so, why?
Well, that's my whole point. It will unquestionably help the economy. And by the way, if you listen to the rhetoric of all the folks up there, it's not that they're arguing against these bills. It's that they, in the Republican case, they want to put a whole bunch of poison pills that poison the negotiations. Last week, we thought we got around that. Unquestionably, an economy that's just beginning to get a little bit momentum. You don't want to pull the rug out of it by taking out the payroll tax cut and the unemployment insurance. Remember, both of these programs are currently active. They're currently in place in the 2011 economy. We need them to be in place for the 2012 economy as well.
Congressman McDermott, let me show you this. Scott Brown, a Senate Republican, actually lectured the House Republicans. Here's a man, Republican in the Senate, that's up for re-election. And he says this: the House Republicans' plan to scuttle the deal to help middle-class families is irresponsible and wrong. A 2-month extension is a good deal when it means we avoid jeopardizing the livelihoods of million American families. Here's a Republican facing re-election chastising people in his own party in the House. What's going on here?
Well, basically, the House of Representatives is without a leader. Mr. Boehner is not the leader. He's a puppet run by the Tea Party, and he's like a weather vane. Whoever he talks to, he then agrees with them, and then he goes and talks to the second person, and he agrees with them. So he's spinning around in so many directions. Nobody knows where they're going over there, and behind him stands Mr. Cantor, who's really pulling the strings on all of this, using the Tea Party votes to really destroy the speaker. I really,
so,
sometimes
Congressman, are you saying here tonight on Politics Nation that the speaker, in your opinion, is a puppet, and that Eric Cantor is the puppeteer that is pulling the strings, and that's what we're watching here?
Well, it's what it looks like. He goes out and makes a statement, and then he goes back in his office, receives a phone call, and then he comes out and says something else. I mean, it's as though he can't speak for himself or what he believes. He's always has to check with somebody behind him, and they tell him, no, that's not what we're doing. So he's out there tonight. I don't know what he's going to say on the floor when this thing goes down, if it does. I think it's an evidence that really his speakership is done.
Now, Jared, people are suffering. This is beyond Republican or Democrat. I was in Harlem today, National Action Network, and I gave away hundreds of turkeys. Don King sponsored all over the country. I'm looking at people's faces, and it's really, really compelling. I'm going to show some of the footage later in the show. And that is why the politics of this doesn't make sense, because you can spin all you want. People know they're hurting. If they need a turkey for Christmas, imagine what $1,000 would do. Yeah. Imagine what the threat of canceling your unemployment insurance would do. Look at the polls on where the president is. The politics of this makes no sense for the Republicans.
I think that's right. And by the way, you know, Scott Brown comments you just heard, I would give Elizabeth Warren a lot of credit for those comments. I think it's her pressure that's leading him in that direction. Look, you're absolutely right, Reverend, in terms of the politics. One of the things I read this weekend was a statement by one of the Tea Partiers that said the following. He said, we're not going to let the Senate push us around this way. Okay, by the way, 39 Republicans in the Senate voted for this. We're not going to let the Senate. He's trying. These Tea Partiers are not listening to the American people. They're not reflecting on an 8.6% unemployment rate and a 16% underemployment rate. They're not reflecting on real wage trends that are negative. They're not reflecting on 4 unemployed people per job opening. What they want to do is pick a political fight to signal their base. That has nothing to do with what this economy needs right now, and it's pure dereliction of duty.
You know, Congressman, let me say to you before I go, while I'm dealing with fighting to get the unemployment insurance extended, while you're fighting on the floor, I was stunned when I heard what the Speaker's priority is. In the middle of all of this, let me show you what the Speaker went to the floor on behalf of today.
This resolution will honor the former British Prime Minister by placing a bust of him in the United States Capitol. Winston Churchill was the best friend America ever had. And I ask my colleagues to join me in honoring his legacy of persistence, determination, and resolve.
160 million Americans living in poverty, needing unemployment, and he's up saying we, 5 days before Christmas, need to bust a Winston Churchill in the Capitol. This is either amazing insensitivity or contempt for the American people. If it wasn't Boehner-like, I would cry.
He really wants to also make sure that he's worried more about the tax cut for the job creators, as he says. In one of his quips, he said, I'm worried about maintaining their tax break at Christmas time. He never talks about the people or the unemployed or the near poor or the people that are struggling in this society. You know, it was just a plain old lump of coal.
It was Winston Churchill who said, the American political system will ultimately do the right thing after trying everything else first. I sure hope he's right, because it looks like
yeah, well, I don't think
House Republicans are trying to prove him wrong.
I don't even think Mr. Churchill could estimate how much everything else the Tea Party crowd could come up with. Congressman McDermott and Jared Bernstein, thank you for your time tonight.
We'll see you.
My pleasure.
Ahead, Newt Gingrich wants poor kids to be janitors. And Willett says cutting billions in welfare won't hurt the poor. Wow. Plus, Newt's free falling in the polls. So he wants to